Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock here on Tuesday, July the 8th. Time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9 o'clock. I'm glad you're here tonight. I am watching your comments on the 14 News Facebook page. So if you have any questions, comments, heckles, whatever you want to put in there, you go right ahead and I will check those out about midway through the show. I'm assuming we have good audio, so let's move ahead here and talk about the same old forecast. Not a lot of change coming our way in the next several days. Scattered storms, daily rain chances, and temperatures in the normal range. 90s for the highs and 70s for the low. That pretty well sums it up. About the only excitement out there on the radar right now was a line of showers trying to make it toward the tri-state, but this thing really ran out of gas. And as proof of that, I'm going to take the radar back 3 hours here, and you'll see, and I mean, even at when I was on the news at 6, I said this probably will never make it down here, and sure enough, it did not. Well, it went on. I advanced it, so we will just move ahead. No severe thunderstorm chances over the next several days. These storms don't have a lot of backing, meaning there's not a lot of shear. There is virtually no forcing mechanism like a cold front or warm front. So they just kind of go up of their own volition, typically heat of the day type storms, maybe an outflow from a previous storm. So without a big, strong basis for them to go, they're not very substantial, and therefore they kind of weaken or fizzle out in a short period of time. Bottom line is, unless the storms form right over us, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of action over the next few days. Temperatures in the 90s and 70s, as I mentioned, a daily chance for some scattered thunderstorms. That heat index at times could get into the triple digits, but unlike the heat wave a couple weeks ago, we're not looking at prolonged periods, 5, 6, 7 hours at these levels. It may peak, and then we get a thunderstorm or some clouds, and we're back down into the upper 80s. The hour by hour here shows how fickle these storms have been. Virtually no development out there for tomorrow. We're going to keep a 30% chance every day in the forecast just because we certainly have enough moisture out there to support thunderstorms if they get going. And longer range, the GFS now trending back to periods of heavier rainfall. Whether that actually happens or not, still up for debate. But at least in the short term here, the next couple of days, it doesn't look like we're going to see much heavy rainfall widespread at all. There could be, pockets or thunderstorms that do put down brief heavy rain. East of the Mississippi, we have temperatures in the upper 70s. It's actually a comfortable night, a little humid, but with temps in the 70s out there, not bad at all. Here in the tri-state, roughly 75 to 80, any place you want to look. Feels like temperatures basically equal the actual temps. We hit 87 today. That's the second day in a row we've done that, and got down to 69 this morning, which is the normal low for this time of the year. I'm sorry, we got up to 88 yesterday, not 87. But anyway, the point is we pulled back from those ugly 90s that we had in there. No additional rainfall today, at least not at Evansville Regional Airport. We had some rain here at the station and at my house, and I know in Western Kentucky you had at least some. I watched it on the radar this afternoon. So that's how it's going to go. There will be the haves and the have-nots, but eventually we will all have a little rain at some point. 85 to 90 again tomorrow, and without any major driver of storms, we're probably going to see basically the same weather tomorrow. This is a better illustration of that line of storms that started out yesterday way up here in Nebraska and then fizzled, then rekindled around St. Louis, and then crapped out again here over southern Illinois. So it just, nothing's happening. With a cold front to the north, it'll kind of stretch out, but it's not going to move through. And therefore, there's really no wholesale change to the overall pattern here going into the weekend and possibly into next week, which is to say daily chances for thunderstorms and high temps in the 90s and lows in the 70s. So tonight, 71 degrees, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, the high temp up to about 88 or so. And over the next 7 days, same old, same old. Nothing big coming our way. longer range temperatures staying above normal for us, slightly above normal, and rainfall slightly above normal as well. And we have a make good. Remember last night I had some trouble getting Trixie's picture on here tonight. So tonight, in all of Trixie's glory, here we go for Cheyenne Hammonds. And remember, this was it was an odd mix. There were three. I remember Wiener Dog was one of them. But anyhow, nice dog that they rescued 12 years ago, I think was the number. And so there we go. Trixie gets her day here on the First Alert Weather Show at 9 o'clock. All right, I will have a look at your questions. Oh, there's Cheyenne Hammonds right there. There you go, Cheyenne. Now, see, wasn't that was a smooth, a graceful pet pick here. Jeff Miller picked blackberries today, made blackberry jelly. Well, you are handy. You got that's pretty impressive. I hope you didn't get chiggers out there. You know, that is always a little perilous picking blackberries, but if you're making jelly, you know what you're doing out there. But man, you can get the chiggers. That and raspberries. Ooh. I remember my mom was a real raspberry fiend back in the day and went and picked, and man, she got chiggers in the worst way. We still ate the raspberries, but not fun for her. So yeah, like had to put the the nail polish on the bites and all that stuff. Okay, enough of my past family problems here. Lenny Howard's on tonight. Hey Lenny, glad to have you with us this evening. William Raleigh says no, 0 in the gauge today. A little humid, cooler, nice day. Great day for rail fanning. Oh, you're one of those guys, a rail fan. Now I got to ask you. I think you always report from near Bossy Field, so you're on what used to be the belt line that went around Evansville, right? Am I correct? Is this making any sense to you? And I'm curious if any of that is still used. I thought I heard a train on that line that runs along. I guess it's Morgan there, by Bossy Field. But I can't figure out how they got on there because it doesn't cut into the CSX over by Pigeon Creek, and I don't think, unless it goes there by Diamond Avenue. Well, you can answer that question. William and I will have a sidebar here on the rail fanning business. All right, Zach Seats, are tornadoes likely? No, we are not in a tornado environment at all. It's warm and humid, but we don't have any shear in the atmosphere. We don't have much lift either. Lacey Martin, good evening. Tracking storms on the First Alert weather app. Yes, those ones over in St. Louis really underperformed, didn't they, as they came our way. Cheyenne Hammonds, kids had a blast playing in the rain off Oak Hill Road. All right, good for them. We had a little scattered shower or two out here on the west side as well. Adam Lewig's going to Grandview in the morning to put in a yard. Yeah, you'll be good to go. Have to water a little bit over there probably. I don't know if you're doing sod or seed or how you're doing it, but yeah. Boy, this time of the year is tough to start a yard too. You gotta water like crazy. Beagle Bassett Wiener mix back here for Trixie. Okay. Any tips on how to keep Japanese beetles off my blackberries? They've been nuts this year. There was somebody I read somewhere, you put I don't think it's beer, but you put something that they like, and they go in there and they drown. I think it's slugs with beer, isn't it? Don't they like that and they fall in? But no, I don't know any secret to the Japanese beetle problem. All right, William Raleigh just answered. He's a local train, 220 runs down there every Tuesday and Thursday. They run down earlier. They run down the scrapyard at Flegeltaub's down here. Okay. Yeah, I've seen and Jeff Miller saying 7 bug dust for your Japanese beetles. Well, my goodness, we're just having a party here. We'll get everybody's problems taken care of. Oh, okay, so we're talking railroads now. This is William Raleigh. He's a rail fan who lives near Bossy Field. And so there's this rail line that runs kind of along the Greenway. If you're familiar in Evansville, there's a point where the Greenway and Pigeon Creek and the railroad are all together, and then they split up. And my question was, because I I cannot trace the tracks beyond a certain point, can't see them. I just thought they were cut off, but I guess they still run trains in there. William has lots of photos. That I would to share. Yeah, that's fine. A friend of mine wrote the thing about the Belt Railway, John DiDemizio. You may know him. And I can't remember if he wrote it or somebody else did. And they went around and traced it all. And of course, I remember when it was still running, they had like different signaling on it. It ran right by Franklin Lanes. Of course, that's when the IC had their freight yard on Franklin Street. And then it went up. Anyway, boy, we could get going here. Let's stick with weather, though. I know that's my, my shtick here. Karen Cotton, how do I go about sending a pet picture? Well, you can post it on the 14news.com webpage when it says submit photo. Go down, you'll see a category for pets, and just put it in there, pet project, and then I'll pull it out of there and run it for you. Lacey Martin, why is Tornado Alley shifting to the east? Well, it has been for several years. Nobody is absolutely certain. We believe to some extent climate change has something to do with it. It's been warmer later, earlier in the east. Secondly, it could be global patterns, you know, like El Nino, La Nina, that have kind of forced the issue, moved Tornado Alley a little bit more to the east. And the other issue is tornadoes typically that happen more in the east, where the Tornado Alley is, tend to happen in populated areas. Back when, you know, Tornado Alley was out in the plains, there were many tornadoes that just hit out in open areas. But that's harder to do here in the eastern half of the country, so typically you have more impact and disruption. So, and of course better detection too with the radar network. So those are the answers that I have for you now, but that's about it. All right, I got a short science corner for us here. This is another topic, unfortunately, that has been, you know, top of mind here, the terrible, terrible flash flooding situation that had happened in Texas over the weekend. I think the highest death toll in a flood event, flash non-tropical system, or, you know, like a hurricane, flash flood event since perhaps the Big Thompson River, which was up in the northern plains back in about 1980, I believe. But anyhow, I wanted to talk a little bit about why this happened the way it did. And first off, what we have to remember, this is a radar loop from the weekend. We had a tropical system in the Gulf here that then came on shore. It was Tropical System Barry. And as it moved in, remember the air extremely humid here over Texas, and then Barry stopped and basically just spun in place. And so what happened was you had an extremely moist air mass that had a lot of available water in it, and it stalled and spun and put out about 6.5 inches of rain in 3 hours. That would be over a month's worth in 3 hours. Also keep in mind that in the hill country of Texas, this is kind of the flash flood alley of the southern plains. The soil there very hard because of persistent drought, so the rain can't sink in. It is valleyed by several riverbeds, arroyos, you know, dry riverbeds and so on, that fill up, and these ravines rapidly cause the water to rise. The water can't spread out, so it goes up. And the other issue possibly is more of a psychological issue. Lots of flash flood warnings are probably given in this area anyway, and so, you know, people kind of blow them off, kind of like we all, you know, here. I mean, you get a flash flood warning, you don't really think too much about it. And we have to remember too that in the case of the camp and those poor kids, it happened in the middle of the night. And warnings were issued by the National Weather Service, timely warnings and the correct warnings for flash floods. The problem is, and we saw that here in the tri-state back in 2006, or 2005, November 6th tornado, happened at 2 in the morning. Everybody's asleep, and so even if the warning goes out, which it did, it wouldn't be received on the other end by a lot of people. Also, you know, the camp, this Camp Mystic did not either have a working weather radio, or nobody was listening to it, or no one heeded the warning. That, and in addition, there was no, you know, audible warning system. So people, you know, slept through it until the water came up. So really a number of aggravating circumstances on top of a really bad situation. But more importantly, to keep in mind, we've had a number of these 100 or even 1,000-year rain events across the country in the last few years. They have increased in frequency. Whether it was St. Louis or the eastern Kentucky, Tennessee flooding. We've had flooding many times here in Texas, and then out in Las Vegas area and in the Mojave Desert over the last couple of years. And we classify rain events, flood events, weather events like this as a 100-year event, 500, 1,000-year event to try to express how rare it is, okay? And so the flood that hit Texas, Kerrville, over the weekend is being described as a 100-year flood, which means that in any given year, over 100 years, there's like a 1% chance that you would have that much rain. It doesn't mean that you have to wait 100 years for that to happen. It's just that the frequency would be there. You can have back-to-back 100-year floods in the chart here, but the use of that term is to show how rare that situation is. So 1% chance of occurring in any given year over a 100-year period. But also keep in mind that these 100-year, 500,000-year events are becoming more frequent. And the reason for that likely ties back to climate change, especially on flooding and heavy rainfall. We've had a number of years now, here since 2000 or so, where we've had the warmest June or the warmest July on record, or one of the warmest. And remember, warm air has a much better capacity to hold water, and so you get more water available up here, you're going to get more rain. Training thunderstorms like we had here in the tri-state back on Friday the 13th in June, and in Texas to some extent, are common. That's a thing that has always happened. But you couple that with even more water in the atmosphere and more dynamically forced situations, and you get these what used to be somewhat rare events are happening a little more frequently, and they are having, of course, very bad impacts where they do strike. So hopefully that gives you a little perspective, a little context for what happened over Texas. And of course, our thoughts need to be with those families of those kids. It's really, and everybody who lost loved ones there in that situation in Texas. We've been through, catastrophic weather events here that were somewhat what we would call a black swan event, or a rare event, like the December 10th tornado in western Kentucky, or the November 6th, cool season, middle of the night kind of situation, where you had aggravating circumstances that caused the death tolls in both of those events to be much higher than they might have been with daylight and more people to receive the warnings. All right, so I hope, I don't mean to bring the room down here, but I think it needs to be addressed, what's going on out there. I think I got everybody's questions answered here, so I'm going to throw you back here, and I got to read now all of William Raleigh's goodies here about the train lines that used to run across Evansville on the west side. All right, thanks so much for watching. You all have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow night here on The Weather Show at 9 o'clock.